Why the Rams are going to beat the Eagles this Sunday, and we've got the injury report. Do we have some new concerning injuries? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, and also drop some comments down below. If you're on the podcast, write us a review or read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. And as always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's in his 11th season covering the Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, we are looking at the keys to beating the Eagles and having a real statement win early in the season. We'll also look at those key matchups, any injury news to get into. We're going to break it all down. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, so, hey, Matthew Stafford looks like his career is going to last longer than Clayton Kershaw's. At least he's going to stay playing NFL football longer than Kershaw is. So, hey, what do you think about that?
I'm very proud of you for making sure that we got Clayton Kershaw in the opening segment. That's a job well done. I know that means a lot to you and to me, and that you connected it back to Matthew Stafford was chef's kiss, D-Mac. Well done.
I'm still mad about the R.A. Dickey Cy Young. I'm not going to get into it, but let's talk about this game, because this is a game that, let's be honest, I mean, is it a measuring stick game? Is it a barometer? I think that this is a game where the Rams are heading into it 2-0, still trying to figure themselves out, still trying to figure out Devontae Adams and getting Matthew Stafford into full form in the offensive line and some of the new defensive pieces. I think it's more of an opportunity for the Rams just to go to 3-0 and see how they compete with a really good football team on the road versus, if they lose this game, it means this. If they win this game, it means that. I mean, there's a lot of football still to be played, but hey, it's exciting because of what happened last season. And I think the number one thing for me is, hey, you got blown out pretty bad. They dominated you in the regular season last year. You looked overmatched in that one. And then the postseason, the playoffs, you were so close to beating them and hosting an NFC Championship game at home. Does it go from getting kind of blown out, almost beating them, to beating them, and that trending in that direction?
I think you're spot on. And one of my favorite phrases is two things can be true at the same time, even if they're opposites. And I think that's exactly what this game is. And I'm glad you said it, because I thought I might be one of the few people that felt this way. This is a really good, exciting, interesting, fun game that's coming up on Sunday. It really doesn't mean all that much. I don't think it's going to define the Rams season if they win. I don't think it defines the Rams season if they lose. I think the same thing is true of the Philadelphia Eagles. What happened last year has absolutely no bearing on what's going to happen on Sunday afternoon. You can't replay the NFC divisional playoff game on Sunday. You can't replay that game where Saquon Barkley absolutely ran over them on a Sunday night at SoFi. This is week 3 of the NFL season. It's important in the sense that it may determine some seeding. It may determine whether or not, the conference record can come in for division, play and all those things. And of course you want to go in there and beat them. Of course it would give you confidence, but the connectivity to last year, I just don't see it. Every season is its own season. The Rams look like they're off to a pretty good start. The Eagles look like they're off to a pretty good start. And beyond that, I think it's just a really good football game. I don't think it rectifies anything that happened in 2024. 2024 is over. Eagles won the whole thing. Turn the page. Next.
Exactly. There's a lot of new faces on this team. And there's some new faces on that team as well. I mean, you look at where the Rams are at, bringing in Puna Ford. How does that impact the run game? Braden Fisk, he left that game with a knee injury after just 3 snaps. You also have the Rams dealing with a little bit of a injury issue as far as finding a new role for a new cornerback because Akella Witherspoon's not in there. Because Akella Witherspoon, he was really key last year against the Vikings, against the Eagles. He played very well. The way he matches up with his size, that's kind of the number one thing I'm looking for actually to start things off is how does a different cornerback room look in this one? I mean, does Darius Williams pick up like he did last week? Do we see Kobe Durant? Do we see Emmanuel Forbes, who I think that is kind of being thrusted into a bigger role sooner than they anticipated? How is he going to fare? Because we know Akello is important to this defense, and it's going to be really interesting to see if they try to exploit that early on.
Yeah, I think that, I was talking with DeMarco Farr, my partner on the radio, a sideline reporter for the Rams, Super Bowl champion around the Rams his entire life, really. And he said something that I think is spot on, which is they're going to have to force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. Look, if they lose because Emmanuel Forbes can't cover somebody, A.J. Brown or whoever, or if Darius Williams is getting torched by Devontae Smith, you know what? I can live with it. What I can't live with is Saquon Barkley absolutely doing what he did to them the other 2 times last year, doing it a 3rd time in a row. You're going to have to die by the pass. That I'm with you. It puts a ton of pressure on the back end. It puts a ton of pressure on your corners to cover some really good wide receivers. That Philly is loaded at that position, but I'll take my chances. What I don't want to take my chances with is Saquon Barkley. What I don't want to take my chances with are a bunch of plays at 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 where they line up for that ridiculous tush push and they convert it over and over and over again. You need to get them in 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, and force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. Now he may do it. He may go out there and have a great game. He's certainly a great player, but I do not want to be sitting here with you on Monday, Doug, and say, man, Saquon Barkley went over 200 yards again. Saquon Barkley had 2 more runs that were, 60-plus yards. I'd much rather say, my goodness, Emmanuel Forbes got absolutely destroyed by A.J. Brown. At least it means you did something to Saquon Barkley.
Absolutely. By the way, don't you love that? The thing I hate the most about the tush push is the number one thing I hate about it. Everyone can do it. Why don't you do the tush push? Yeah, because my quarterback can't squat 6,000 pounds. I don't have an offensive line that's rugby background, right? I mean, and not everyone can do that, all right? So let's first point that out. But that was my number one key in some of the keys that I have here. And that is, as you point out, Travis, to push the ball down the field. Get Jalen Hurts in situations where he has to try to push that ball. Because you look at the first 2 games for the Eagles, believe it or not, Jalen Hurts has not attempted a pass between 10 and 19 yards. He has 2 completions over 10 yards through the first 2 weeks. On passes under 10 yards, he's averaging 4.9 yards per attempt. That's 31 out of 34 quarterbacks, and he's averaging 5.9 yards per target. So if you can do that while stopping the run, I like the Rams' chances in this one. And that's kind of the big test because Jalen Hurts, he ran wild. Saquon Barkley, he ran wild. And I think that's kind of the number one thing for this Rams team is to try to put them in that position where they do kind of get a little one-dimensional.
Yeah, it's hard. I know that this has been the game plan of pretty much everybody that's played Philadelphia for the last couple of years. And, the conversation surrounding Jalen Hurts is always, is he one of those guys or does he just have a ton of weapons and he's able to kind of manage what's going on out there? And I'm always kind of like, what difference does it make? The dude just keeps winning a bunch of games. But I do think that the way that you're going to beat them is make Jalen Hurts be the differentiator, right? That if we're talking on Monday that Saquon Barkley killed him, then there's no surprise. If we talk on Monday that, Saquon Barkley was pretty quiet, but A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts had a big day, I hope we're not, but I could live with it. They need to find a way to put the emphasis and the onus on Hurts. And let's see if he might. He might be able to do it, but I would much rather take my chances there. I would much rather say, I can't believe they hit 3rd and 9 6 times in that game than, they had 7 tush pushes and it worked 7 times.
No doubt about it. I think that's the number one thing right there is you don't want them to dictate the game action. You don't want to let them try to handle it and beat opponents like we've seen them beat, where it feels like like you really are getting bullied out there, and you just don't want to have that. I think if you're Chris Shula, one of the big keys to that is trying to get pressure on the interior. And there is some questions whether or not Braden Fisk is going to be able to play in this one. He's still on the injury report as of today. But guys like Landon Dickerson, Tyler Steen, Cam Jurgens, you can manipulate that with the talent the Rams have right there in the interior. And then, as you point out, I mean, Jalen Hurts is not just about, okay, get him to throw. It's get him to throw from the pocket. I mean, because if he has time to improvise, he can make throws out of structure. He can make things happen with his feet, but he's 20th in EPA per dropback. So that is the biggest key. Try to make this guy, try to see if he can do his best Stafford impression, because he's not going to go Frank Caliendo and nail it, right? He definitely won't.
No, I don't think so. And I
don't know why I did the Frank Caliendo pull there. That was good.
I don't know. It was 2012 again. I like that a lot. That was well done. I'm surprised you didn't go like Rich Little or something like that and kind of throw it way back there. I'm impressed. You said it. That the Rams need to be that defensive front that we're hoping they'd be. You know, if the Rams are going to be a defensive first football team, which I think is coming, I think it's coming sooner than later. Today, or I should say Sunday, would be a pretty good time to do it, because, you know, if you can stop that Philadelphia front, if you can get pressure on Hurts, if you can force him to stay in the pocket, if you can take Barkley, you know, I don't know if you can take him out of the game plan. I don't even think that's possible, but you make him a smaller part of the game plan. We're going to start talking about that Rams defense the way we talk about Phillies, the way we talk about Denver's, the way we talk about Houston's. The Rams will be in that conversation.
No doubt about it. Coming up next, we're going to look more into those key matchups, more keys, and take a quick look at this injury report. Are there any key injuries that the Rams need to be concerned about? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
It's almost the weekend. It's just about here, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it matters most. Let's break it down. Let's talk about my man, Davante Adams. Davante Adams delivered in a big way. We saw him get into the end zone for the first time as a member of the Los Angeles Rams. We saw him go over 100 yards for the first time as a member of the Los Angeles Rams, and it feels like we are just getting started. He's playing no hesitation, no delay. He is killing it. And if you've been watching week after week, you know that the performance is not a fluke. And just like Davante delivered for the Rams, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18. And let's talk about my pals at FanDuel. The NFL season underway, right? FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer, because right now, if you are a new customer, this is for you, new customers. You can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, right? FanDuel is awesome because it fits however you like to play, however you like to bet. Player props, FanDuel's got it. Building a same game parlay, FanDuel's got it. Even jumping in live as the action unfolds right in front of you, FanDuel has you covered. It's quick, it's easy, and it is the best way to add that little something else to Sundays and Saturdays and Mondays and every day in between. There's always football, there's always baseball. We're right around the corner from basketball and hockey, you name it. FanDuel has it all. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. We're Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also want to give a shout out to those every listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast where, hey, all you got to do is watch or listen or do both to every single episode, and you will be the most informed Rams fan. You'll listen to the #1 Rams daily podcast, and yeah, you'll go on this journey of Rams football with us. All right, Travis, here in our second segment, we're going to get into more of these keys. Second biggest key for me is trying to attack Adoree Jackson. You got to take advantage of that matchup. And last year you had Cooper Kupp. This year you have Davante Adams. And one of the reasons why you're bringing in Davante Adams is he goes to work against a guy like Adoree Jackson, because you got Puka Nacua. There's too many guys to match up with if you're the Eagles. And so far this season, Adoree Jackson, 70 out of 72 quarterbacks for corners as far as their PFF grading. 40.6 coverage grade. That's 69. He's allowed 8 catches on 12 targets, 16.1 yards per reception. That's 11th most in the NFL. Devontae Adams needs to go after that and have a big day. And I think Sean McVay, he sees Adoree, he's looking at his chops.
Couple of things. Number one, no surprise that UCLA Doug McCain picked Adoree Jackson to go at, who is a proud Trojan. So no surprise there. I see you working over there, D-Mac. And I'll tell you a quick story. So the one of the producers on my radio show, a guy by the name of DeAndre Hawkins, is a huge Eagles fan, and he's saying, hey, the problem the Eagles have is Adoree Jackson. That he knows that is the soft spot on this team. That is the spot that if you can exploit, you got a chance to go in and beat one of the best teams in the NFL. And it's that Adoree Jackson, by the way. It's not Adoree Jackson Jr. It's the same one that played at SC 900 years ago. He is ripe. He is ripe to go out there and be exploited. And you said it, D-Mac. Sean McVay knows that. Matthew Stafford knows that. Devontae Adams knows that. And I think that you're going to really see them go at him, because he is the Eagles have got a great defense. They've got an incredible pass rush. We know that they're really good at stopping the run. But if you can find a way to give Matthew Stafford that little extra time to find Jackson and whoever he's matched up with, I think they're going to do it.
First of all, I feel attacked. I don't appreciate that at all. But I will tell you a quick story. I'm such a loser that back when he was in his recruiting process, he was a 5-star. He was like one of the biggest recruits that year. Jim Moore was still at UCLA, so they were actually still able to get some modicum of talented players he was recruiting. And Adoree Jackson was back when like Instagram Live just started, and Adoree Jackson went on his Instagram Live the day before he announced his commitment. He had done a weekend visit to UCLA, and he was wearing a UCLA blue do-rag on that Instagram Live, and we were like, yeah, Adoree Jackson, he's coming to UCLA, and he was like, yeah, I loved it there. I love Jim Moore, and da-da-da-da-da. Boom, next day he commits to USC. So that's when we started calling him Adore Me Jackson. So, yeah, that will always hurt. But no, look, here's the thing.
I know what you're about. You're coincidence by me.
It's a coincidence. But I do think that's definitely where you gotta attack. And the other thing, too, the interior of the Eagles, they're going to try to go after Matthew Stafford. I think for me, having a little PTSD in this one, let's see how Coleman Shelton looks, bringing him back. Yeah. Because if it wasn't for Jalen Carter blowing up Bo Limmer, it would have been a very different finish to the Rams season last year. But Stafford, he has had the third most quick pressures this season, 23.5% of the times, the 6th highest too. So that definitely is something you're going to look at in this one. Is do you keep him vertical, and how quickly are they getting the backfield to force him to make throws?
Yeah, I think a couple of things are going on with that. Number one, we talked about that, and this isn't necessarily specific to the Rams, but I think that the Rams have fallen into this category. Everybody's only as good as their offensive line, right? If your offensive line is not good, you're basically dead in the water before it even starts. The Rams' offensive line through the first 2 weeks of the season has been okay. It just kind of okay. Matthew Stafford is that good. Matthew Stafford can be under pressure. Matthew Stafford can have, a pressure rate that is above the normal amount and still find a way to complete balls, still find a way to move the team down the field and score points. That's against Houston, who's got a really good defense, and Tennessee, who maybe does not. The Eagles are a different animal. They're going to have to block up front a little better than they have in the first 2 games, because if they don't, A, Matthew Stafford won't have the time to find what he needs to find, and B, we may be having a conversation about that back again if he's out there getting smoked over and over and over again. So I'm with you. That front, the guy, Jalen Carter, everybody that they have up there we need to have, somewhere in the middle of the third quarter, Doug, we need to be having a conversation about, man, those guys have been pretty quiet so far today. Hopefully they can keep it up to the next quarter and a half or so, because if you're hearing Jalen Carter's name on TV a whole bunch of times, that is bad news for the Rams.
Yeah, he's definitely nightmare fuel for Rams fans. He definitely can disrupt a game, be a game wrecker. And I think, too, that's just kind of one of the early storylines to look at for the Rams. I mean, that's why it's always great when we spend months and months and months of previewing NFL season and talking about how much better the offensive line is going to be with the addition of Coleman Shelton, how much of an upgrade he was going to be. Truth is, he hasn't been that big of an upgrade so far. And then Steve Avila hasn't been at 100%. He's missed time. Kevin Dotson, he's played hurt. Alec Jackson had a really good week last week, but the week one wasn't stellar. Rob Havenstein still doing Rob Havenstein things. But it's going to be a major test for them because the Chiefs and the Cowboys, they're pretty solid. They're pretty stout in their interior. And I think that the Eagles have been waiting for a game where they have a more of an opportunity to get to the quarterback. Thankfully, Matthew Stafford is so intelligent. His football IQ is off the charts that he can feel that pressure and make those quick throws. But also, those quick throws also don't lead explosive plays either.
No, they don't. And the pressure off of the edge is one thing. Like if you know, like Will Anderson against the Texans in game one, like that's coming from the edge where he can see it, he can feel it, he can adjust to it, he can step up from it, and he can buy himself that extra, second or so. When that pressure is coming right in your face, there's not much. If you're Kyler Murray, you can run away from it. If you're Lamar Jackson, you can run away from it. Well, I don't think anybody's going to confuse, Matthew Stafford with Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen as a guy that can, get out of there and move their feet like that. So they're going to have to protect. They're going to have to protect up front. They're going to have to protect in the interior of that line. And, we got to see it, right, D-Mac? We can hope for it, but until we actually see it, it's going to be a big question. I love how you said about Havenstein too. It's like that dude is just the Terminator out there. He's been around forever, and we really never talk about him because he's just always out there doing Rob Havenstein stuff. It's incredibly impressive.
Yeah, I love those vets that they get to a point where it's like there's no more ceiling, but it's like they're just at that nice high floor they've established for themselves, right? Yep. He's a guy that's certainly been able to do that, and it's almost kind of unfortunate we don't talk about him as much. I mean, for an offensive line, that's kind of what you want. Yeah. But I think for him, we kind of have to give him his flowers too, because there's more yesterdays than tomorrows in his career. Now, we'll get to one more key before we go to the next break, and that is the fumble issue. Because I think one of the most interesting subplots in the first two games is the emergence of Blake Corum and how inefficient Kyren Williams has been. And last week, before Blake Corum's 15-yard run, the Rams had gone 7 quarters without an explosive run. And that is the benchmark there for a explosive run. So there's the efficiency. There's what Blake Corum has shown. There's kind of like he's the shiny new toy type of thing as well that you just kind of want to see more of. And there's the fumbles, because Kyren Williams has protected the football well this year, knock on wood. But let's not forget, it wasn't just the fumble in the division round game late in that one that put the Rams in a pretty tough spot where they had to try to come back late. It was kind of a miracle they still had a chance to win that game after that costly fumble late in that one. But also, the opening drive in their Week 12 loss, the Rams were in the red zone. They were going to score first, and Kyren Williams fumbled, and then the Eagles, they went down and they scored a field goal. So protecting the football, I think, is going to be really important. I think, if not just for winning the game, but also just to say, hey, has Kyren Williams put that behind him?
If they lose the turnover battle, they're cooked, right? Like, I mean, if when you're playing a team like and by the way, I'm sure the Eagles are saying the same thing about the Rams. Like, if they lose the turnover battle, the Eagles would be in deep, deep trouble. It's just when you're playing against a team that is as talented or more talented than you are, it's those things that make the biggest difference in the world, is holding onto the ball, finishing drives, and finding a way to have a pop play here and there that maybe you're not expecting. And like you said, Corum was able to do that a week ago against Tennessee. We're still waiting to see that from Kyren. He really isn't that type of back. He's more of a slow and steady, wins the race kind of guy. He scores a lot of touchdowns. He's a great choice in fantasy. I get that, but I'm going by memory here. I think Kyren had 17 carries last week, and Blake Corum had 5. If we turn that into 14 and 8 and kind of, just start to peel a few of those Kyren Williams carries off to Blake Corum, I would be very interested in that and see what he can do with a little bit more time. And I know we talked about this earlier in the week. The everydayers have probably heard this already, but every time Corum gets a little bit of shine, it looks like Kyren Williams responds in exactly the right way, that he runs a little harder, he runs a little better, and I think that's exactly what you're looking for.
It's like Conforto a week before the trade deadline, right? I mean,
stop.
By the way, we got Travis talking fantasy here. Sign me up.
Stop with the Conforto. I'm in a good mood. They beat the Giants last night. I just had a great Locked On Dodgers. I'm feeling really good. And here you come with your Michael Conforto. What are you doing to me?
I'm an all-time great vibe killer. My friends say that, and family says that's kind of what I do. But I will say, you bring up fantasy though. You bring up fantasy. I did, and I have a saying too. No one cares about your fantasy team ever. True. But except mine. But I picked up Blake Corum on the waiver wire. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
There are two things people care about less than your fantasy team. Let me tell you what they are. Your bad beats in poker and your most recent round of golf. Nobody cares. Don't tell me.
That's so funny. Those aren't that same. Yeah, absolutely.
Your fantasy team, how the guy you were playing against caught a flush on the river, and the fact that you got a bad lie on 16 at Rancho Park. I don't care. I don't want to hear it.
I'll also probably add my niece and nephew in there too. Anytime that's part of the equation too. I mean, at least for me. But I mean, yeah, those definitely in the mix for that. But coming up next, predictions and some more keys to this one. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
All right, this episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood, your neighborhood, my neighborhood, feel like home. So whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows exactly what you want when you come through the door, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades, these are the places that bring people together. And when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. There's a place that I like to go to here where I live down in Orange County. I go to, it's called The Point down in Dana Point. Place is packed on Saturdays. It is absolutely packed on Sundays. Everybody's watching football. Everybody's in their colors. The energy's incredible. Everybody is having a great time. And Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. 4 million. So you can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more about it. But before you go, do support your favorite neighborhood spot. They will be incredibly happy that you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Okay, Travis, a quick look at the injury report. No progress for Steve Avila or Braden Fisk. Each were out of practice with an ankle and oblique injuries. With those two, the ankle for Avila and the oblique for Braden Fisk. Colby Parkinson, he's still limited. His status is in question for Sunday. So we don't know right now if it's Avila or if Fisk, if they're both going to play, if one of them's going to play, but it would be a big loss if both were ruled out. Avila, you're going to see Justin Dedich, and you'll probably see Tyler Davis will get some more rips in there if Fisk has to miss. But anything concern you about the injury report as far as those two guys go?
Yeah, Fisk. I mean, Fisk is a big deal. Fisk is it's funny because Rams fans know this. I don't know if people around the league understand. Jared Verse kind of stole all the headlights last season, headlines, I should say. He was the guy that was the defensive player of the year, the rookie defensive player of the year. He was the guy that everybody's saying is a future all-pro. He's a guy that's going to go get a massive bag when it's available to him. He's going to go get paid in a real meaningful way. Braden Fisk was just as good as Jared Verse last year. He really was. He had an incredible season in his first year as well. Teammates at Florida State. So maybe it's not one of those things that jumps out at a casual fan, but Rams fans know how important he is. And again, we're talking Saquon Barkley. And anytime you're a little bit less than up front, it's going to make a huge difference when you're going up against like players. So I would put Fisk right at the top of the list of guys that hopefully they can get him right by Sunday. There's still a little time to heal up and get some treatment and take what you need to take to get on the field on Sunday. So hopefully Fisk is out there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the truth is I need both those guys, but I think Fisk, I don't want to have to face this team twice without Fisk. I want to see how he can perform against this team. So I definitely agree. So prediction time, I said it on the squad show yesterday. I can't pick the Rams to lose until they actually lose the game. We saw in 2021 the start that they did have going 8-0 and then kind of springboarding that. I think the Rams could win this one. I kind of did a really specific prediction where Joshua Carty hit a field goal late to win 26-24. But I'm going to do that lame thing that people do and say when they make their pick, I would not be shocked at all if the Rams lost. I wouldn't be shocked, right? So, but I gotta pick the Rams just until they lose.
Well, I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Rams found a way. Honestly, I think whoever has the ball last wins the game. I don't think either one of these teams has the ability to blow the other out. I think they're both really good. I like your call of a late Carty field goal. I hope that it's a little bit more high scoring than you described. I wouldn't mind a game played, somewhere in the high 20s or low 30s. I know that's unlikely because neither one of these teams really light it up like that, despite the fact that they're loaded with offensive weapons. They're very deliberate. I think the Eagles lead the league in time and possession and also lead the league in fewest plays run. It's a weird combination of they don't snap that ball till it's 1-2 on the play clock. They really bleed that thing down there. It's not a back and forth thing. So hopefully you get into a little bit of a track meet. I think the Rams will fare well in there, but I do think whoever has the ball last wins the game. So hopefully your prediction of Cardi is on the money.
Yeah, the Rams, according to FanDuel right now, 3.5-point underdogs. It's funny. It's a 10 a.m. game, right? I mean, it's not even a Sunday night or NFL Sunday game, America's game of the week, but
this could have been Monday Night Football. This could have been Sunday Night Football. At worst, it's a 1:25 kickoff where everybody across the country gets it. It's East Coast, it's West Coast, it's two undefeated teams, it's two big markets. Like that, this is
I don't get it either.
10 a.m. is very odd, very odd.
By the way, so do you like the Fly Eagles Fly? I mean, do you think is it corny? I think the Rams really did miss a golden opportunity to not just make the Just Ram It their version of Fly Eagles Fly. That's the best song ever composed, easily.
They do play Just Ram It at every game. I'm just saying it's in there. They
have every touchdown. You don't have the whole
Oh, I love it. Like if you saw her just ram it, if they were doing that every time, that would be
that song taken out of context, pretty hilarious with that dance move.
It's terrific. But look, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I do like Fly Eagles Fly. It's pretty good. I like when they sing it. I'm not a hater. I'm here. When you get something good, you got something good. I'll tell you got something good, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's okay. Fly Eagles Fly. Yeah, it's
corny, but it's cool. It's one of those things like when everybody's doing the corny thing, it becomes cool.
It just doesn't have mystique or aura, as the kids say, compared to like a college fight song. You know what I mean?
No Riz. I hear myself.
No Riz. Yeah, no cap. All right, man.
I barely know what that means.
Coming up our next segment, we're going to break down Gen Z terms. That's coming next.
6'7".
6'7". There you go. Oh, wow. That's even too new for me, man.
That's all my daughter says. I think she got hit in the head or something because that's all she can actually say. I have no idea.
I like it. All right. Well, that's good. 6'7". LaMelo Ball, shout out. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCann. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. You can follow the People's Champ at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.